Hello, third grade artists. We're going to make a clay sun inspired by the Aztec Sun Stone. I'm going to use Model Magic because that's just what I have available. If you have Play-Doh or modeling clay or there's a recipe for salt dough in the presentation. If you want to use something like that, that would be great also. I'm just going to start by separating my Model Magic into two pieces. So I'm going to start with this round sphere shape. This is about, so 1 ounce. So I would say this is probably the same as like one normal size jar of Play-Doh if you're looking for a reference. So I'm going to squish it a little bit into kind of more of a sausage shape so I can cut this in half because I want two pieces of my Model Magic. They look like little marshmallows right now. I'm going to set that aside, and one of my halves I'm going to roll back into a sphere or 3D circle, and now I'm going to squish it flat into a pancake. I'm making the base of my sun, so like this circle shape here. This is too thick. It's kind of like a really gooey cookie right now, the thickness of a cookie. So let's squish it a little flatter. With Model Magic, you can't go too flat because it's going to break and not stay together very well. Same thing with all modeling supplies. We don't want to go too thin. Mine, I'm squishing kind of on the table one last time to make it smooth, but mine's a little bit thinner than a pencil, okay? So we're going to start making these little points, these little sun rays coming around our circle. So I'm going to tear off a little bit of that other half, and I'm going to start with a little sphere. I'm going to show you some different ways to make rays to put around your circle. So this is just one way that I do it. I start with another little sphere, a tiny little, like a small grape size, squish it flat, and then I hold kind of on the bottom half. So I'm holding like half of the little cookie. And then I take my other hand and I'm going to pinch the top half just kind of gently to kind of shape that into sort of a little raindrop shape. Okay, so I'm going to stick that right onto my circle. If you're using a different supply, you might have to play with what works for you because what works for me with Model Magic might not work as well for whatever modeling material you have at home. So there's another little teardrop, but let's talk about other ways to make some sun rays. You can see I only put 4 rays on this sun, but if you're looking for other ways, something you can do is you could always roll coils. Coils are like ropes of clay. You don't want your coils to be too long or too skinny because they will break, but coils can make really nice rays for your sun also. Or something else you can do is to kind of flatten a little piece of whatever your modeling material is. And I know Play-Doh will work pretty well with this. I'm not sure about all modeling materials, but you can cut this shape, and that's going to give you like a really nice sharp shape if you want like a pointy sun ray. So I put a bunch of rays all around my sun using all different techniques, but I'm going to make sure those are all attached, and then I'm going to flip that over. So then I have this flat, smooth surface to work with. So we're going to start by forming a nose. Now, of course, there's many ways to make a nose, right? But we want something to be 3D. So it kind of like pops out from this flat surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with another little sphere, and I'm going to pinch this so it turns into like kind of a flat cookie, and then I'm going to pinch the side. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm pinching on the top and the bottom, and I'm also pinching on the left and the right to make kind of like this little log shape. And I want the bottom to be flat, so I'm going to push that flat. And I kind of formed this into this little kind of triangle-ish, rectangle-ish shape. I am going to use my pencil to kind of form 2 little nostrils, and I'm going to stick that right onto my sun. Now, there's plenty of ways to make a nose, right? So maybe you want to roll a coil, a nice little fat coil. Maybe you want to use your pencil to poke some nostrils in. Maybe you have a different plan and you want your sun's nose to be a little sphere. That all works. Just get some sort of nose and stick it in the middle of that clay. I'm going to move on to eyes next. So for me, I'm going to start with 2 little, they're kind of like little green pea-sized eyes. I'm going to squish them flat into cookies. So first they were spheres, now they're cookies, and I'm going to put my pointer fingers touching and my thumbs touching and kind of just gently pinch this into more of a almond shape, we say sometimes, or like lemon or football shape. Now, maybe your eyes are just going to be a little cookie. That's fine. But if you want to change the shape, then you can hold it like this and kind of pinch and form it into more of a teardrop. The last building technique that I want to talk to you about for ideas for your son, remember, if you're making these in different ways, that's awesome too. Just know that a lot of times we roll coils also to build, and that's what I'm going to kind of show you next. I'm going to take a little bit of my clay and kind of roll it back and forth in one direction so I can make this like really long, skinny rope of clay. This can be a good tool for adding details to your clay. I am going to add a mouth using this and also some eyebrows. So my first piece, I am going to do kind of like a curve for his mouth. I'll show you up close. So he's got like a giant smile right now. And then I'm going to put a straight line across the top. So I kind of gave him like a top lip and a bottom lip. So that's how I chose to do the mouth. You might have another idea, which is great. And then I also really like to give this son eyebrows. So what I did is I used the rest of my coil and kind of just like bent it around. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some texture to our sun. So texture is how something feels. And to do that, you can use different tools to press into your clay. So I'm first going to add some details with my tools, like little eyes. Maybe I'll add a little texture to his mouth too, just to give it a little more detail. I don't like to do too much detail in the middle of his face because I think it's hard to see your face then. So what I really like to do is kind of press around the edge of my sun to give him a little texture there. So if you have modeling clay, this would be fun to color with marker, or you could paint it. If you have Play-Doh, then I probably wouldn't add any water to it. That's not going to work out very well. But here is my little sun inspired by the Aztec Sun Stone. I can't wait to see what you come up with.